Well, it's another rant from a nobody, I guess, again. Again, for people who know me, I don't want to get that misconstrued. I never had, I'm not saying that I'm a nobody. I know that I'm somebody. I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a, leader. I'm a community. In my community, I do so much for the young men in my community. So, no, I know what I bring to the table. I just, that's just the title of this because some people who watch this, I end up looking back at my other YouTube now after 21 days and I realized that, over 900 people watched it. And I just pray that those who watched it got something out of it. So, an hour and a half free from that event, from going to do time. As you see, I'm still a little rough. I haven't shaved. My head I did shave, so my head is clean. But my face, I didn't want to clean myself up. I wanted to come raw, and as soon as I got out, I wanted to make sure that I did video too, especially after seeing a lot of people's input. I read back what a lot of people saw, felt, and I really appreciate all you guys' message. Man, I definitely read them, and I definitely will respond when I can. Like I said, I'm just an hour and a half out. I won't be able to fly home tonight because I have to stay and sign some paperwork to get my probation transferred to where I live. But I really appreciate everybody sharing that moment with me. I wanted to make a second video. Going into my second video, I wanted to give you guys a little backstory on my experience these last 21 days. It was spiritual, to be honest. Going in, I really was concerned with wondering, like, why 21 days? Like, why wasn't I given good time like everybody else? Why wasn't I given the 3 days that I served prior to when I first got incarcerated? Why wasn't I given the 3 days that they gave me as a time served? I didn't understand those reasons. And, that's what I kept praying to God about, asking him, like, why 21 days? Honestly, I should have did about 9 or 11 days, something like that. But God definitely showed me, man, going in, of course, a little apprehensive. No one, if you've never been to jail, it's not a comfortable place. Oklahoma city jail is where I spent the time at. It's definitely not a sanitary environment. It's one of the building should be condemned, to be honest. It has a lot of black mold in the facility. It's not well kept. They incarcerate more people in the state of Oklahoma than anywhere else in the United States. Again, that's a fact. But let's get into my time because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I just want, I want to get to the environment, to how I spent them days. First of all, when I got in the first night, I stayed downstairs a lot in the intake, and it was freezing. It took me a long time. They finally took me to a cell about 1:30 in the morning on the 9th. So on the 9th, I finally got into a cell. I had an older gentleman, was my first cellie, Mr. Wallace. He 57 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He was 57 years old. He had been incarcerated in and out most of his life, but all non-violent crimes. This time he was in for a non-violent crime. And again, in Oklahoma, they give you large numbers. They'll give somebody 10 years, but if it's non-violent, you don't do a lot of time. But if it's violent, you do 85%. So Mr. Wallace, who's 57 years old, was in there for a violent crime, was robbed a couple gas stations with a BB gun, and got, I'm pretty sure it was 15 years. I'm pretty sure it was 15 years at 85%. So he's going to do a lot of time. But Mr. Wallace was amazing, man. He was very upbeat, talked to me about God, asked me where do I see myself in 5 years. And, we had, great conversation. And he played chess. He told me about him being in another unit and some young guys ran up there and took his store and took things from him. So, I felt real bad for Mr. Wallace, but we spent 7 days sharing that cell that's, as big as my wingspan, widthwise and about a body and a half length of me lengthwise. You know, that's your kitchen, your toilet, your bathroom, your bedroom, your living room, everything all in one. So, you know, of course, we bonded in those moments. But Mr. Wallace was a good dude, man. Definitely, as you watch this, please pray for Mr. Wallace and his situation. I definitely would ask you to just keep him in your prayers. So we spent 7 days together. And then Mr. Wallace got transferred to the penitentiary because he wasn't doing county time like myself. He was going on to the penitentiary. So he moved on to the penitentiary. As Mr. Wallace left and as every other inmate left, I prayed for every last person leaving. I put my hands on the door and I asked God to watch over these people and give them strength and vision on to where life will lead them. I pray that they would never come back to these environments again, man. And I'm sorry again for the first video because I felt like after reading everybody's messages, everybody was scared that I wasn't I was suicidal. It sounded like, one person didn't even know me and said that they kind of knew me but didn't know me and felt, everybody, because I titled Rant of a Nobody, that's just the title of what I decided to choose to pick the video. I know I'm God's child, so I know I'm somebody for sure. And that was even before I went to prison, jail. I definitely understand that. I spent time in prison before, which was a lot more stressful than this time in jail for sure. I just never decided to put my business out there like I did this time. This time I just wanted to make sure, because I felt like my story can help someone else. This isn't about me. I'm not doing this to get any credit or to have somebody, feel sorry for me. I definitely want prayer because we all need that. But I'm not in it to for my own gain. These videos are for somebody else's gain. So second thing I want to talk about, I read a lot of books. I definitely read at least 10 urban books in the 21 days. I read a lot of other Christian books. Of course, I was in my Bible. I read the Bible. I didn't have my own Bible, but I got to read a later Sally's Bible, and it was a spiritual moment for me, man. I really believe that I wasn't put in there for myself. I really believe, I did I won't say that because for myself, I did game plan, I did strategize. I make the young guys that I mentor in Seattle in the basketball situation, I make them write vision boards and short-term goals and long-term goals. And how to accomplish those things. So I did the same thing for myself, and I'm really pleased with that, and I can't wait to, get back to life. I'm in a hotel now. I had to walk about 12 miles to get a hotel because I didn't want to waste no money and catch no Uber. So I walked about 12 miles and I'm in a hotel now. As soon as I get off this video, I'm going to clean myself up, take a hot shower, go get some good food, and be blessed, man. Immediately, the first thing I did upon getting released, outside of jail, I got on my knees and I thank God for the experience, for letting me free, for the next chapter in my life. I didn't want to call my kids' mom or my kids, which I haven't talked to my kids yet. I have talked to my kids' mom, only because after I did call my lawyer and found out that I was gonna have to stay another night, I called my mom, and my mom told me that my mother-in-law had passed away, and then my wife was up there with her and her sister in Atlanta preparing for that. And I'm really hurt that I wasn't able to be, because I didn't talk to nobody the entire 21 days. So I had no outside connection. I didn't know what was going on with anybody. I haven't talked to anybody. Like I said, I spoke to my mom, and I briefly spoke to my, I'm just going to call her my wife at this point. Like, I won't say ex-wife. I won't say my baby mom, none of that. My wife, I talked to her, and she had to get off the phone because, I'm definitely praying for her and her family. And I was so, as you can tell, very emotional and beat up about that situation. I'm going to try to hold it together because already the video is 9 minutes in, and I got a lot to cover. So after I had 10 days, after Mr. Wallace left, I had 10 days in the cell alone. And in that 10 days, I tried to meditate. I tried to, like I said, game plan. I tried to, talk to God as much as I can, and just get focused. Try to prepare myself for, because honestly, in jail it's easy, man. They bring your food to your door. I had breakfast in bed every day, which I don't order. It was gross. Mold, black mold on the trays, black mold inside the cells. I'm telling you, these cells and this living conditions, for anybody who reads this who can help or hears this who can help, Oklahoma City jails are horrible. And those guys need somebody to speak up for them, and I'm trying to do that right now for sure. I miss my family. I miss my friends dearly. I miss life. You're sitting there and you're just wasting life. You're just wasting away. I call it like a dead man walking, to be honest, or I'm buried alive almost. But the alone time was good for me, and in that moment I prayed for a cellie that didn't mess up my time. I try not to pray for a cellie, like just allow God to dictate my situation, let His will be done. So I prayed for a cellie that wasn't gonna, like there was a lot of guys in there gang banging, and I was in the crip pod, so there was a lot of guys in there that they act like jail is fun. They get in there and they, whatever. To each his own, man. You guys enjoy that, because I'm cool. I love my freedom, and I thank God for giving me the time He gave me, because I understood that time was meant for me. So the next part of my story is, to me, the biggest part of the journey. I'm at that Friday, and the guy, and I had been 10 days by myself, and I figured if I didn't get nobody by Friday, because the weekends we're not allowed to do any movement, we just stay in our cells all weekend, 24 hours a day. And so I figured if I didn't get a cellie by Friday, I wouldn't have a cellie by the weekend. Then I would have Monday and Tuesday, and I would get out. So I didn't have a cellie, but the guy next to me who also didn't have a cellie, the white guy, had a young black guy who ends up being at his cell, and they were going to put him in there, and all the Crip guys was going up there hanging out with him, and me and the guy was joking about, we were in the rec area, and I was joking with him like, oh, you're going to have a lot of ripping and running at your door and things like that. And then when they rack us back to our cell, they end up putting a young black guy in my cell, and I was a little disappointed, to be honest, at the beginning, because I didn't want no riffraffs. I want to do my time the same way I was doing it. Well, as this young man moves into my cell, they shut the door and we introduced ourselves, and he said, my name is Jeremy. And I kind of jumped back, my name is Jeremy. And I was very overwhelmed by that. And I was like, wow. And his last names ended up being Little. So I was calling him Little Jeremy. He was a younger African-American male, younger than me, 27 years old. And this young man had been into gangs, all his life, and just like 2 weeks ago in another party, had been locked up for about 2 or 3 months and just signed for 3 years. And he just recently had accepted God as his personal savior, and he was still trying to figure out if it was the right thing to do. And of course, this is Friday night when he comes in, so now I have Saturday and Sunday where we're not going to come out the cells, we're not moving, and we're just in there. And me and this young man talked and talked and talked and talked, and he asked me questions that I normally can't answer. Honestly, I still didn't answer. Every time he asked me a question, I would pray, and then I would turn to the Bible, and he said, how do you know, like, if you're praying and things work? And I remember specifically, he was scared. He was scared that if he told his other gang members that they were going to, what they call take him to court, and that means you go in there and you got to fight 2 or 3 people, and he didn't want to do that. He said, I don't want to live this life no more. Like, I want to be better. I want to grow, and I'm trying to stay away from this kind of things. Doesn't have a GED, no high school diploma, could read, but it was, it's a struggle, especially trying to read the Bible. And honestly, he gave me his Bible, and I told him I'm going to answer right now. And I said a prayer to myself and opened the Bible. When I opened the Bible, immediately I turned to Matthew 21, verse 21 and verse 22. And I'm going to share that with you guys really fast. And Jesus answered them, truly I say unto you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, be taken up and be thrown into the sea, it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, it will receive if you have faith. And immediately this young man was like, how did you do that? I mean, he thought like I was being some magician, or I was, like I made it up. And honestly, I told him, it's not me. Don't give me no credit, man. It's God. God's speaking through me to you. And throughout this weekend, we had that over and over and over. And he would ask me questions, and I would decipher the Bible. And people who grew up with me, I did grow up in church, but no, I'm no preacher. I didn't go to school for this, but God was just speaking through me. And it was, as much as it was helping him, it was overwhelmingly, helping me. And honestly, if I would have got credit for the 3 days, I would have not been there. Friday, I would have got released, so I wouldn't have been there. So honestly, I believe the reason why I had 21 days flat wasn't all for me. It was for I can meet Jeremy Little, or Little Jeremy, as I called him, as I started to call him. He said in the streets they called him J-Lo, but he didn't want to be called that no more, because he said he wanted to be done with that. And by the time today was over and I was leaving, this young man cried to me and hugged me and told me I was more important to him than his father, because I care for him, and I feel, I had store, because I had money when I came in, so I had store. I let him eat what he wanted to eat. I gave him what he wanted, but I talked to him, and I told him, you could be better. God, works miracles, and he said he thought that I was one of the most intelligent people he's ever met in his life, and then my son, he cannot wait till get out one day so he could tell my son that I'm such a special person, and he's he should be so thankful for the father that he has in his life. And it made me emotional. Me and this young man cried. I told him I love him. I gave him my number. I told him if he ever needs me, reach out to me. And I'm very upset that I'm not here for my wife and her situation with her mom, and that's eating me up. And I'm very upset that I haven't talked to, my parents and my siblings and things like that. But I've been taught so many lessons, man. And I'm sorry this is going so long, but please bear with me and listen, because I promise you, God is speaking through me right now. And it was amazing. It was. And then Sunday, we talked a little more, and we had more spiritual moments, and he finally was eased and calm, and he went to sleep. And somebody yelled, Kobe Bryant died, and it really affected me tough, man. I'm a basketball guy, I'm a sports guy, but I love hoop, man. And I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan, because I'm a Sacramento Kings fan, and so many times he killed me. But since Kobe's retired, I learned to respect him so much more, man. And of course, just as a basketball guy, I respect Kobe through and through, man. Just what he's brought to the game. But it really hurt me to hear that his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, was in the plane with him, and they were going to an AU game, because almost every weekend, me and my son, of course we don't fly in helicopters, but me and my son do that almost every weekend. And that could easily be me. So I understood how blessed I was, even though I was in this box, in this still coughing and eating this food that I don't like, that ain't no good for you, that using the bathroom in the same environment, a foot away from somebody, and all these other problems, man. So I definitely want to pray for Kobe, his family, the Bryant family, and all nine, everybody, not just the Bryant family, because I ended up finding out the next day, because of course I just could listen to a radio, and I didn't have no TV or nothing like that in there, so I could only listen to a radio and listen to that. Eventually I found out that there was 3 other teenage girls in there, and the other 2 parents, and everybody. I definitely pray for everybody on that situation, man. It's a horrible situation, man. And if you don't believe in God, trust me, there is a God. Trust me, I promise you, there is a God. I'm free now, though. I'm back to the real world, and I'm thankful, so blessed, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everybody's prayers who prayed for me, prayed with me, and keep praying for me, man. I'm going to tell you guys something just so you can really believe that there is a God, man. Right now, I don't have a lot of money. I have rent to pay, and a couple, everybody knows rent's on the first. I don't have a job. My car's pretty much broken down, but I'm not stressing that at all. God's going to give me a job. I really believe God's going to give me my job back, because they did tell me I would get my job, but they have fired me on New Year's Eve. And then on New Year's Eve, I had another really big thing when I spent a lot of time with those young 16 or 17 young men that from 14 to 12 that came to my house and hung out, and we had the talks, and I had them do the vision boards. It was amazing. So the next chapter of my life, man, God's gonna work it out, man. I have no doubt in my life. And I mean, at all. I have no doubt at all, man. Even with my wife, I pray for her family, please. She just lost her mom, her and her sister, aunts and uncles. They're trying to get the body back from Atlanta right now to go to LA. My grandma's 90th birthday is coming up. I pray that I can get out there. I pray that I can somehow get to LA so I can be with my wife and in this tough time. But thank you, Heavenly Father. I like to thank you for this experience. Like, even the bad stuff, it was definitely an experience, man. I like to thank you for real. Please, I'm gonna keep these going, and maybe in a couple weeks I'm gonna add another video. So subscribe to my YouTube channel now. I don't know why I decided to do it, but like I said, overnight I posted other videos, my son playing basketball and things like that. I've never had 900 people watch something, man. So I even hope this doubles. So like I said, make sure you subscribe to the video and then send it out to 5 other people, because I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for somebody, for little Jeremy. You know what I'm saying? For Mr. Wallace, for somebody right now to think they're gonna make a choice that might not be the right choice. And 21 days isn't why I was broke up about it. It's just me being separated, not being able to be a father, a husband, the man I'm supposed to be out here in the real world. I'm gonna tell you right now, one day in jail ain't a good time, man. It sucks. 21 jail, actually prison was easier than jail, because prison I could move and things like that, man. So thank you for your prayers. I love you guys, man. Please keep, understand, like my brother says, it always can be worse, man. You always get so many people in their head. There's a young boy in there, 19 years old, 20 years, a hard time. Like it wasn't and he, so he's gonna do 85% of that, man. So pray, keep praying for people. If you have somebody in jail, answer the phone for him sometimes. Send him a letter. If you making dumb choices, be better, and then trust God. Keep praying for yourself. Get up every day and understand that you're thankful. If you wake up, you're blessed. If you wake up, you got to think. If you wake up, I was in the box in jail, but Kobe Bryant, with all this money and all this, didn't wake up the next day on Monday. He's not here right now. His daughter's not here, and my mother-in-law is not here right now. So just understand you're blessed. Sorry it was so long. Please bear with me. I love you guys. Keep praying for me. Keep praying for yourself. Trust God and move forward. Thank you for listening, man. Thank you for sharing a little bit of my life, man.